Welcome to Convergence with Karen Holton. This is episode 8 on People for People Radio. Find out how the personal is political as we explore the politics here on Earth, the exopolitics of our galaxy, and how these intersect with spiritual transformation through my unique perspective. Now, just to catch you up, in Convergence, episodes 1, 2, and 3, I presented my observations about the current political climate here on Earth and some history to support my opinions. Then in episodes 4, 5, and 6, I talked about my experiences as an exopolitical ambassador and other ET experiences. In episode 7, I talked about some nefarious technologies that may be holding some of you back mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I introduced you to an overview of the Quantum Health Transformation course materials. If this is your first time joining us, I encourage you to check out the archives here on People for People Radio or my YouTube channel to find all of the episodes of Convergence. This is an interactive show, so please post your questions in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Today, I'm going to talk more about the Quantum Health Transformation Program, and I'm going to introduce you to Step 9, which is actually the first step, as we cover this material in reverse order. All of the information that I am presenting here was received as part of a spiritual download, and I believe the details are from the Living Library, which is also known as the Akashic Records, and is integrated with my personal life experience and training. I want to remind you that this system of quantum health transformation works very well for me. However, you must synthesize this information and take only that which serves you. At the very least, it is my hope that you will be stimulated to seek your own inner wisdom. The information that I am sharing today is on the deep and heavy side. I'll share it at a bit of a slower pace and allow pauses to let the information sink in. You may want to come back and listen to it again, as it contains a lot of information with the deeper concepts to consider. Step 9, Black, Introduction to Nubby Ball Tool and Light Shadow Integration. This part of the program is designed for those who wish to expand their field of awareness and learn more about the practical applications of quantum physics. It's remedial because it provides a simple understanding of quantum physics and its practical applications. It provides an alternative to old paradigm binary concepts which limit our ways of thinking and being, and it provides a remedy for such conditions as denial, projection, and a failure to thrive. Step 9 will teach you to expand your awareness about the dynamic, interconnected nature of all things. It will teach you to ditch the drama and learn to look at issues that are more analytically and less emotionally, and to understand issues more fully, to get a balanced sense of the whole and learn fourth and fifth dimensional thinking. It will also teach you how to approach light shadow work so you can experience more balance and wisdom in your life. So now we're going to get a bit into the history of the Nubby Ball with an introduction to Nubby Ball, a tool for analysis and integration. It was kind of funny how it all started out, but I was having difficulty with some social situations. I had not too long before this, a rather badly botched surgery, and it left me with some significant impairments, including some brain injury. And so I was having trouble communicating with people after that. And so I found that it shifted all of my social dynamics. And I found that I was having a difficult time with this change. And so I asked my guides for help because that's just what I do. And they suggested that I imagine a sphere just suspended in space. And then I was asked to imagine that I saw the other person's viewpoint from a specific social interaction. I then plotted this as a point on the sphere. I was then asked to imagine what the opposite position or vantage point might be on the other side of the sphere. I did so, and as I focused on the sphere, it became a nubby ball with infinite points or nubs covering it all over. I very quickly came to see that there were as many positions or points of view for this given social situation as there were nubs. An infinite and undetermined amount, really. Suddenly it was obvious to me that it was ludicrous to try to find the whole truth from looking at only one nub or perspective. Only by considering the entirety of the issue was I approaching truth. It also became apparent that I could in no way determine the true complexity of the motives that another person would have from any single vantage point. Truth, by the way, is plural. It was never meant to be considered as a single position. So in our world, we're given this or that, up or down. We're basically given two ideas or two polar opposites of an issue. And this amazing sphere that looked like a nubby ball, which is how I got its name, really helped me to see that there are as many different perspectives as there are people. And people view things as being very, very differently depending on their experience and the vantage point from where they're coming from. So to flesh issues out further, I was asked to plot on the same sphere several other possible positions as I might imagine them to be for my issue. It now became even clearer to me that I had no way of correctly identifying or completely understanding the motives and the behaviors of another person. What I had been seeing was a projection of things as they made sense to me. This realization led me to several conclusions. First of all, there's no point to assigning intention to others because we don't really know what their experience is in life or what their true motives might be. We can guess, but only by seeing each issue as one of infinite nubs on a sphere can we come close to understanding that other people's stuff is complex and it's not for us to try to figure out. Quite frankly, it's really none of our business. Our perceptions are ours alone to care for and adjust as we see fit. It is wise to listen to our internal guidance system, as the messages we receive are expressed through emotions, feelings, and body sensations, but we do best to leave our mental analysis out of it until we've overcome our binary or single point of view programming. Further, only by considering an issue as infinite points or nubs on a ball could I get a glimpse of the true whole of the situation. As I practiced with many issues and situations, I realized that I could use this tool to gain greater understanding of life and on many, many different levels. Only by crudely considering the entirety of an issue, as displayed by this tool, could I approach truth, and especially my truth. So continued use of the nubby ball led me to understand that everything is fractal in nature, and this tool allows us to see our own fractal flow. We are, and everything we perceive is, divinity diversified. I didn't realize it at the time, but the Nubby ball tool represents a tesseract. A tesseract is eternity and infinity cycled through what we perceive as finite time and space. All levels of reality from the Planck to the universal expanse follow the same dynamic flow. All beliefs, societies, and systems can be assessed with this model of analysis. As it is above, so it is below. Good, bad, light, dark, gender, any binary concept considers only 2 points among infinite positions within the realm of possibility. Truth and balance are at the center, and the more points we consider, the more we are able to understand reality, social as well as other aspects of life. The best we can do, being imperfect beings, is to plot the opposites of an issue or situation at the poles, and then consider as many additional points as we can on our Nubby ball tool. This gives us a sense of the whole and leads to fourth and fifth dimensional thinking. When you view the flower of life symbol as a sphere, you also find that it can be used as a Nubby ball tool. So, getting a little bit into sacred geometry, I'd like you to consider a few things. A single point in time and space represents a point of awareness or being, and this is zero-dimensional. A line connecting 2 points represents possible movement between the 2 points, and this creates one dimension. That would be the dimension of length. A box shape represents possible movement between 4 points. This gives us 2 dimensions, which are height and width. A cube shape represents movement between 8 points. It creates 3 dimensions, height, width, and depth. A Nubby ball is made up of an infinite number of 3-dimensional shapes, creating 4th and 5th dimensions and beyond. For more information, use the search engine to find more information about sacred geometry, and check out my YouTube playlist called The Science of Reality. I've got a number of sources there, all different sources of how to understand the reality that we actually live in from a quantum perspective. For a deeper understanding, take some time to visit my website or my YouTube channel and watch the Quantum Health Transformation Step 9 videos. In the course materials, I provide many illustrations. Take a moment to look at these illustrations. Don't worry if you don't understand them fully. Your subconscious knows what they mean. At the center of the Nubby ball is the source of all concepts, ideas, situations, etc. The source is truth and balance. It's a unified whole. Here's another way of looking at it in practical terms. I can be represented by a Nubby ball, which means that I am also an energetic torus field with consciousness. But I'm also but a nub on another larger Nubby ball, which means that I am part of a larger energetic torus field with consciousness, and this is called planet Earth. Every nub is a Nubby ball, yet all nubs connect to each other, forming ever more nubs on Nubby balls. And an example of that would be universal consciousness. For illustration purposes, think of our solar system as an even larger energetic torus field with consciousness, and so on and so on. It might be easier for you to grasp this concept if we go from large to small. Our galaxy could be described as a Nubby ball, and each solar system within that galaxy is a nub on the galaxy Nubby ball. On closer inspection, each solar system could be described as a Nubby ball, and each planet within that solar system could be described as a nub. On closer examination, each planet could be described as a Nubby ball, and each Earth person as a nub, and so on, no matter how small we go or how large the scale. The entire energetic phenomenon is conscious, and as it is above, so it is below. A Nubby ball is also the flower of life. It is dynamic, it's ever-changing, and it's evolving under influence. Well, this might all be well and dandy, you might be wondering, but what good is it? So I'm now going to branch off and talk a little bit of the uses for the Nubby ball tool. So here are some possible uses for the Nubby ball as a practical tool. It allows us to see more of an issue, situation, or way of being with a more balanced sense of the whole. Nubby ball plumps out the 3D, revealing the dynamic, interconnected nature of all things. Use of the Nubby ball assists us with overcoming our binary programming and our black-white, positive-negative, up-down, good-evil worldview, so we can see things as truly complex and dynamic. The Nubby ball tool helps us to weed out the BS and allows for a greater degree of self-analysis and character building. For example, now no one can tell you that there's only two choices. This tool assists us to understand and upload complex data into our thinking schema, as we are now liberated from our binary thinking. Nubby ball helps us to understand social issues, which may have caused discomfort or awkwardness in the past, because now we know that there are many, many possible perception points. It assists us to reconcile cognitive dissonance, as we see that everything is context sensitive. It allows us to more fully integrate that which we choose to believe. Now we see many options that we could not see before. The Nubby ball tool offers us a way to look at issues more analytically and less emotionally. The Nubby ball expands our awareness, and knowledge is power, and self-knowledge is true personal power. The Nubby ball tool strongly illustrates why the standardizing bureaucracy of the economic, political, social construct is so limiting. The Nubby ball tool dissolves conflict, as we clearly recognize that everyone sees things from their own vantage point, and so there is no clear right or wrong stance. This is in line with the saying of, "Don't judge another until you have walked a mile in their shoes." And finally, the Nubby ball helps us to sharpen our critical thinking skills. I want to note here that you don't need to believe anything in order to benefit from this tool. Don't worry about understanding the quantum aspects of Nubby ball. Just pretend that it works and give it a try. The more you practice, the easier it becomes, and soon it will become an automatic system for learning. Now, if you haven't done so already at this point, I recommend you visit my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. Click the Free Resources tab to find the Quantum Health Transformation course, and watch the Quantum Health Transformation Step 9 videos to help prepare you for this next section. If you are watching this as a replay, just pause this video and come back to it as many times as you wish. Assuming that you've done so, I will now continue. So the next thing is I would like to teach you How to use your Nubby ball. Number 1, first of all, suspend your opinions for 5 minutes and pretend the Nubby ball tool works as I have described. Promise yourself that you'll return to your skepticism after trying to use it as described for just 5 minutes. Next, visualize a Nubby ball clearly in your mind, or if you like, you can just draw a sphere on a piece of paper. Now take any social issue and divide it into 2 extremes and polar opposite viewpoints. Plot these 2 positions at the poles of your Nubby ball. For illustration, let's use good for the North Pole and evil for the South Pole. Now plot your honest position, what it might be, and then plot the opposite of your position on the corresponding opposite side of the sphere. Since 100% good and 100% evil basically does not exist, because each is only one of infinite possible nubs or ways of being, you might select a point closer to the equator to describe yourself. Once you can see these 4 points plotted clearly, throw in another random position and plot it and its opposite point. By this time, you have plumped out the issue, and you can make guesses as to what the whole of the issue might look like. In the case of good versus evil, you will see an infinite number of possibilities, especially around the equator. Congratulations! You now have a quantum view of the bigger picture as suggested by the original issue. Most people, places, and things are neither truly good nor truly evil. Everything falls between the polar opposites. Now you are in a position to make some educated guesses and draw some holistic conclusions. You can understand matters more fully and better execute your strategic planning. When you practice and lengthen the time you spend considering concepts, people, places, and things this way, you can draw quantum conclusions almost instantly. Soon it becomes an automatic system of analysis. And I believe that to some extent we're already doing this subconsciously, which gives rise to our intuition and our hunches. So hold on, this is only the beginning, and now you're ready to integrate your light body with your shadow body. And at this point, I'm just going to check the chat. Okay, we don't have any questions yet. So I'm going to continue with the Nubby ball, a tool for analysis, and light shadow self-integration technique. Through our dualistic programming, we find that we ourselves are split into positive and negative attributes. Similar to the earth, if you shine a light on one side of a Nubby ball, you find a light side and a shadow side. Likewise, no matter how much we try to deny this duality within ourselves and attempt to walk in the light, our shadow side remains. We share a collective consciousness of light and shadow, as well as a personal dichotomy. This is why step 9 is so important. We need to expand our awareness and consciousness to learn to perceive more of reality than what we have been taught. To help with this, I am recommending 2 books. The best book that I have found exposing our collective shadow consciousness is called The Denial of Death. It was written by Ernest Becker, and it was published in 1997. The best book that I have found exposing our personal shadow consciousness is called Meeting the Shadow, The Hidden Power of the Dark Side of Human Nature. This is edited by Connie Zweig and Jeremiah Abrams, and it was published in 1991. I have found both of these books very good for doing my own personal shadow work, and I highly recommend that you give them a read. I now want to make some recommendations on how to approach and why to approach your shadow work. In the beginning, most of us shy away from this kind of knowledge, usually out of fear. But if we do not do this type of personal work, we can look forward to denial. The shadow remains and is activated fairly regularly without our conscious knowledge or consent. And this leads to personal sabotage, and we do not get the results that we wish for in life. If we don't do our shadow work, we are often found to be guilty of projection. We tend to cast what we reject within ourselves onto others. And as we do so, we blame others for our externalized faults. And because of this, our relationships fail to develop fully and they remain superficial. We can get caught up in victim role playing and our relationships tend to fail. And a third factor of what happens if we do not do shadow work, and that is we will experience a failure to evolve. We do not get to know ourselves fully and honestly, which impedes self-reflection and personal growth. However, if we boldly go where few have gone before and choose to do an honest appraisal of our whole selves, we can look forward to less denial and less subconscious sabotage plays out in our lives. Life becomes richer and more rewarding. Without the need for projection, we no longer bully, scapegoat, or stereotype others because we can accept folks as they really are. We will find little reason for dramatic entanglements, so relationships become deeper and more fulfilling. And finally, when we choose to do an honest appraisal of our whole selves, we take responsibility for our actions. This is the beginning of personal sovereignty. We are now able to engage in meaningful self-reflection and confidently make our own necessary adjustments for personal growth and evolution. Now we can truly begin to thrive and find the happiness and the contentment that we deserve. Here are some recommendations for personal shadow work. Number 1, use the Nubby ball tool to plot your positive attributes and consider the opposite or your shadow attributes which you may be avoiding or hiding. Number 2, take time for meaningful self-reflection and become aware of all of your uncensored thoughts and feelings. Number 3, once you see your shadow emerging, notice how you feel. Number 4, without judgment or condemnation, thank your shadow self for the information it gives you through thoughts and feelings. Number 5, look for the wisdom and the warnings within the nonsense. We don't have to like this part of us. We are only looking for the essence of the message. With practice, these shadow messages become less disturbing. Remember, you're listening now, and the messages do not need to use as much energy to overcome your denial. In time, as we learn from our formerly suppressed shadow self, we learn to walk with and learn from our internal shadow partner. Light and shadow together like siblings. And very much like having siblings within, sometimes we find our light and shadow selves in conflict. And this is good because it helps us to find that middle ground, which is our true integrated self. So in my own experience, I have found that each time I allowed my shadow to rise so that I got a look at it, at first I found it really disturbing. I just wanted to push it away and go, no, no, that's not me. I'm not like that. I'm a good person. I'm this, I'm that. But when I started to actually realize that there was no threat to me or to my life by examining my shadow, I was able to look at it for longer periods of time and start to analyze it a little bit and see how it played out in my own life. And when I was able to do that, I actually released the energy and the fear, and is able to really start to take a good look at myself. And this, by the way, is an ongoing process. I don't think it ever ends throughout your whole life. So it's best we all get busy doing this as soon as we can if we want to make some really significant progress. So, as I mentioned, sometimes our light and our shadow selves are in conflict. And I see this as a very good thing because it helps us to find the middle ground. We're neither truly, truly good and we're never truly, truly bad. We are a mixture. And it's really important that we look at that. So we can now learn from the important messages from both sides, which facilitates integration. And as I mentioned, in truth, not one of us is completely good or completely evil. We are products of our spirit, our genetics, environment, and even social upbringing. Light shadow integration more than doubles what we know. And I say it again, personal awareness is personal power. So to help you get started, I want to give you a few examples of shadow work, some shadow work exercises. So I think a good place to start is with a piece of paper and a pencil and write down a list of what you consider to be your very best qualities. And when you're satisfied with that list, it can be a very short list or it can be a long list, depending on how you view yourself. Then I want you to create a column next to that and add the opposite qualities to your list. And it doesn't matter if at this point you believe you have those opposite qualities. You're just going to write them down for the exercise. And so, for example, you might say, I'm generous. I know I'm a very generous person. And you can think of oodles of examples where you were very, very generous. So now if you take your Nubby ball and you plot generous at the North Pole and not generous at the South Pole, now you plot a point for where you believe you would be for this issue. So the first is the North Pole and the South Pole of generous and not generous. And then you're going to plot a point where you believe you stand. How generous are you on your Nubby ball? And after you do that, you're next going to plot the opposite position and take a really good look at it. Spend some time thinking about times when you could have been more generous with someone or something. Without judgment or condemnation, accept the opposite point and recognize that at times you are not generous. And this will give you a glimpse of your shadow. By the way, don't forget to consider times when you're not generous with yourself. Now you're ready to look at some deeper issues. So just like the Earth, the Nubby ball has a light side and a shadow side. If we consider the northern hemisphere as positive and the southern hemisphere as negative, we find that we have four options. We have a positive light part, a positive shadow part, a negative light part, and a negative shadow part. Here are some simplistic examples to illustrate this concept further. An example of a point or nub falling within the positive light quadrant could be someone doing a random act of kindness out of a feeling of pure love with the very best of intention. An example of a point or nub falling within the positive shadow quadrant could be doing the right thing for the wrong reason. So perhaps, again, looking at a random act of kindness, someone who does a random act of kindness, but with the intention of manipulation or control, would be someone who's doing a positive thing for a not so positive reason. Next, an example of a point or nub falling within the negative light quadrant could be someone doing the wrong thing for the right reason. And this could include maybe disobeying a law in order to protect and care for another. So an example might be someone stealing food to feed their children when there's no other known option. So there's an example of doing the wrong thing, perhaps for the right reason. And finally, an example of a point or nub falling within the negative shadow quadrant could mean someone doing the wrong thing for the wrong reason. And what immediately came to mind for myself in this situation was the dereliction of duties for self-interest and greed by politicians, as we see so often today. So many, I'm not saying that all politicians are bad, but it seems like growing every day are the numbers of them who are serving their own self-interests and greed um, um, by doing the things that they do and making the decisions that they make. So they're making bad decisions for us, and they're doing it for a bad reason. But at this point, it is best not to be too hard on yourself and just use this tool for general self-analysis. It's important to refrain from shame, guilt, or criticism because this can lead you back into denial, and the shadow will hide itself as a result. Diving a little deeper, you might want to try using the concept of kindness with your nubby ball. Most of us like to believe that we are kind all of the time, but when we look at the opposite point, which would be cruelty, we all share times when it is clear that we're not so kind. A common example can include when we're hangry. Hangry is the feelings that you get when you're hungry. So that is feelings of anger which surface when we're hungry. Also, negative mood from eating junk foods or drinking alcohol. When we are hangry or hungover, we are often responsible for lashing out at others, and we tend to especially target those who are powerless to effectively stand up for themselves. Normally, we don't want to look at this because it brings up feelings of shame and guilt. Being hangry or hungover is no excuse, as it is our responsibility to eat and drink responsibly, and it is our responsibility to learn other methods of controlling our mood. It is our responsibility to not repeat bad behavior. But we have to be willing to admit the bad behavior before we can work on changing it. When we harm ourselves and others, we feel terrible. So how do we continue to do the shadow work? Well, it's important to not try to do too much at any one time. Once we find a sore spot, it is important to think about these undesirable feelings in ways that are productive. Instead of being consumed with thoughts that promote guilt and shame, try forgiving yourself and use the negative energy to fuel change. Spend some time thinking of ways to prevent this negative behavior from happening. Plan your meals so that they include healthy options and that you eat at regular intervals. Find and learn about the many options for relaxation and mood improvement. Join a support group, get some counseling, or just spend some time sitting with the true you, accepting yourself as you are, warts, bumps, and all. Spend time strategizing your life, recognize your triggers, and make plans with specific steps to reduce the harm. As you master harm reduction strategies, this negative behavior will decrease over time. Learn some anger management techniques. Start to keep track of the sequence of feelings which lead up to our outbursts. Then, when you recognize the beginning of these feelings, you can have options ready. You may want to remove yourself from vulnerable people while you self-soothe. And there's a lot more of this that I will be telling you about next week in Quantum Health Transformation Step 8. It's important to see that we must first recognize the shadow self, allow it to emerge, feel the feelings that are produced by it, and then strategize and plan ways to improve. What this does is recenter you between excessive kindness and excessive cruelty. This is where you will find balance. Eventually, as you mature and shift, you will be able to deal with some really old, deep-seated issues like privilege, racism, and prejudice. I'm just going to check the chat one more time before I go on to some definitions for clarity. Okay, we don't have any. So here we are with some definitions for clarity, and this is just for those of you who don't know. Prejudice is when a person negatively prejudges another person or group without getting to know the beliefs, thoughts, and feelings behind their words and actions. So an example is the way that many middle-class people view the homeless people, or how many Christians view the Muslim people. This is usually due to ignorance and fear. Now, there's also bigotry. Bigotry is stronger than prejudice. It is a more severe mindset and often is accompanied by discriminatory behavior. It's arrogant and mean-spirited. And then there's racism. Racism is the system that allows the racial group that's already in power to retain power. For example, some white people have used their power to create preferential access to survival rights and resources like housing, education, jobs, voting, citizenship, food, health, legal protection, etc. for white people, while simultaneously impeding people of color's access to these same rights and resources. An example of racism is referring to people of color as minorities when it is the global white population that is the minority group. Worse yet, in Canada, racism is part of the continuing genocide of the Indigenous people. At this point, I recommend that when you are ready, you add issues to your belief and behavior inventory list. Start with easier issues, and when you're ready, delve into some of the more weightier issues. You will know when you're on point by the way you feel. Discomfort indicates that something needs to change in order to restore inner balance and harmony. The only way out of this is to go through it. These exercises are very good ways to help you to become the change that you wish to see in the world. Do not feel overly anxious about your shadow side. Instead, appreciate that we all have one, and we all have much work to do. We were born into a construct that can only be maintained by our unconsciously giving our power to those who create and maintain the horror. Further, how can we expect ET and other benevolent beings to sit at the table with us when we continue to harm ourselves and others here on Earth? Self-analysis and emotional literacy are the keys to the door of change. And you have everything you need. Again, I'd like to offer you a reminder to view the Step 9 primer and live workshop on my website under the Free Resources tab, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com/videos/step-9/. This concludes Quantum Health Transformation Step 9. Please feel free to contact me for more information and also for assistance with your integration program. My services are found under the Shop tab of my website. Now, I would like to take a moment to say that I am very grateful for all the forces that assist me with the ongoing, evolving production of this 9-step online course. I am grateful for the continued support from my Universal Starseed community. Please join me for the next 2 steps in this online course. They're called Step 8, Red, Grounding and Birth of Core Belief Systems, and Step 7, Orange, Developing New Core Belief Systems and Male-Female Energy Integration with Transgender Identity, which I will present next week here on People for People radio. I've got time to give you a brief overview of what to expect next week. Quantum Health Transformation Step 8 is designed for those who wish to feel more grounded, to soothe the mind, body, and soul, and to change belief patterns, making way for quantum recovery and personal evolution. It provides solutions for those who feel stressed out, anxious, or depressed. It provides alternative coping mechanisms and methods to improve sleep, and it improves self-care, self-soothing, and self-centering practices. So you might be wondering, how is the Quantum Health Transformation Step 8 different from other lifestyle programs? It provides ancient wisdom with cutting-edge spiritual, environmental, and personal grounding techniques. It provides an alternative bio-psycho-spiritual approach to lifestyle. It provides a second foundation to the complete Quantum Health Transformation Lifestyle Program through opening the mind and raising awareness. Step 8, Red, Grounding and Birth of Core Belief Systems will teach you environmental, personal, and spiritual grounding techniques, effective steps for advanced gratitude and appreciation, about often overlooked sources of unconditional love, grounding outdoors and improving internal environments, how grooming, stretching, and posture energetically improve the health of the body, mind, and soul, how to fuel a robust heart torus field, and methods of establishing positive belief systems and how to put them into action. Quantum Health Transformation Step 7 is designed for those who wish to find quantum balance, bypass the gender stereotypes, and incorporate the best traits into our own unique way of knowing and being. It challenges and assists to overcome self-limiting beliefs. It creates more inner peace, abundance, and self-acceptance. And it replaces gender stereotypes with the best traits from societal and cultural norms. You might be wondering, how is Quantum Health Transformation Step 7 different from other lifestyle programs? It allows for self-empowerment through self-integration. It provides the third foundation to the complete Quantum Health Transformation Lifestyle Program through opening the mind and raising awareness. It opens one up to new paradigm possibilities. Step 7, Orange, developing new core belief systems and male-female energy integration, will teach you methods to cast off undesired gender stereotypes, give you enormous freedom to express as truly unique individuals. It will give you the basic mechanics of gender diversity. It will give you self-empowerment through self-creation and self-identity. It will allow you to view common belief systems from a fresh perspective. It will help you to increase self-awareness through self-integration, to find your balance energetically and mentally, to increase your personal power, and about the divine feminine and the divine masculine within. If you want to make contact with ET and or participate in the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, take exquisite care of the temple body, raise your vibrational frequency, and learn from the Quantum Health Transformation Program. Let me know if you have any questions about this or the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, and I will do my best to answer them on the next show. You can email me at forbiddentransformation@gmail.com. Join me and bring your friends as we go live at 1 p.m. Mountain Time every Tuesday here on People for People Radio. A special thank you to Gaz and Vanessa for hosting me and moderating for me on People for People Radio, and much love and light to you, the viewers. Thank you for sharing this time with me. If you would like to enjoy more of my content, check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com, where you will find an abundance of free resources to assist with energetic ascension into physical, mental, and spiritual paradise. On my website, you will find the 9 steps to quantum health transformation. This is a free, no strings attached, comprehensive, online lifestyle course, and you will find it under the free resources tab of my website. You will also find episodes of the Quantum Guide Show. These are interviews with awakened masters, and I recommend that you let them share their quantum work with you. Then I also co-host another show called Forbidden Transformation with Karen and Chris. That's Chris Matthew from Forbidden Knowledge News. And we teach you how to make positive ET contact, how to improve your life, and how to find your experiencer community. And then I have all kinds of podcasts that I call the Fringe View. So science fiction becomes science fact as you learn about my real life, paranormal, and extraterrestrial experiences from my various podcasts. If you would like to support my work, check out my online shop where you will find Zen Dome's Orgonite, my unique brand of orgone generators. They're ethically sourced, they're handmade, and they're double charged for maximum effect. I also offer comfort crystals, a limited collection of energetically infused semi-precious stones. I also offer lifestyle services, workshops, assessments, and of course, one-on-one support and coaching. I have a support service available for people who have experienced ET contact. Doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative or somewhere in between or just is a bit confusing. I offer support for that. And I also offer spiritual support for people that are just looking for more than what they're able to find in mainstream religion. Now, I in no way have a cult or a religion or even a group that you can join, except for a small support group on Facebook, because that's not my thing. But I am here to support you in whatever you choose to believe, in whatever experiences that you choose to validate in your life. And I also have PDF downloads, which are printable, shareable, copies of my lessons. I charge $3.99 each for these, which is in Canadian funds. So in USD, that would be about $2 each. And it helps to cover some of my expenses. And I have all of the lessons from the Complete Quantum Health Transformation Program also in PDF format. And I just want to mention that all of my information in the Quantum Health Transformation Program, whether it's the original, the 2.0, or future versions as this program evolves, they're completely shareable. And you can share them as long as you adhere to the fair use clause. I don't mind one bit, because the important part is that people get a hold of this information so that they can use it if they choose to. So just before I sign off, my website again is www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton, healthcoach.com. I'm a different kind of health coach. My email again is forbiddentransformation@gmail.com. And of course, you can always find me here on People for People Radio, www.peopleforpeople.ning.com. And then there's my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/C/Karen Holton TV. And I have a brand new channel on Odyssey, www.odyssey.com/@Karen Holton TV.